Call the meeting to order at this time. Is he on the phone?
Not yet.
But we could start,
Yeah,
We have a quorum.
and then he can join.
we have a quorum.
Yeah.
So, well, go ahead and do a roll call. Mr. Adam is here and myself. And we're still waiting on Mr. Maryboy. But nevertheless, I believe we do have a quorum if there's two. So we'll go ahead and proceed with the agenda. Or I guess invocation first. Is there any offer? Mr. Adams?
Our dear Father in heaven, as we have met as county commissioners and employees and citizens of the county today to conduct our county commission meeting, I pray that we might have civil discussion, that we might be able to work out the differences that exist at this time, that we might be respectful of each other. Father in heaven, we ask you to bless the leaders of our state, the leaders of our nation, that they will keep us free and peaceful. We have asked for a special blessing on the people of Ukraine, that they will be able to somehow end that conflict and save lives by doing so. We ask you to bless them, that they will feel supported. Father in heaven, we're grateful for the land that we live in, the freedoms we enjoy. We are grateful for the beauties around us, this beautiful county that we live in. We ask you to bless us with these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Sir Adams. Going next to the item is agenda. Mr. McDonald, can you read our proposed agenda?
Absolutely. So under our consent agenda items, we have the approval of the April 5th, 2022 commission meeting minutes, and then approval of the April 19th, 2022 commission meeting minutes. You have approval of the check registers for April 15th through April 30th. Item number 4 is approval of $10,255 in small purchases. You have $5,000 for branded emergency management application for emergency management department. You have $3,655 for the 30-second commercial with visitor services. You have $1,600 for Economic Development Corporation of Utah, which is the annual membership for economic development. Item number 5 is approval for the renewal of the Veterans Care Agreement with the Department of Veterans Affairs. Item number 6 is the approval of a $4,762 purchase for the proximity service for co-working space entry system over at Monticello Library. Item number 7, approval of a memorandum of understanding agreement with the Utah Department of Emergency Management for the annual renewal of a special needs registry. And then item number 8 under your consent agenda items is approval of the San Juan County Minimal Performance Standards SFY, so for fiscal year 2022, amendment number 1 with the Utah Department of Health and Human Services. Under recognitions, presentations, and informational items, you have an update and presentation from the Utah School of Institute Trust Lands Administration regarding the transfer of Sitla parcels from the Bears Ridge National Monument. Item number 10, you have San Juan County sales tax leakage report. This will be presented by Elaine, our Economic Development Director. Under business action, you have the approval and purchase of R&D and V Carroll sculpture presented by Michaela, our Assistant Library Director. Item number 12, consideration and approval of a letter of support for the Utah Food Bank efforts to establish a food pantry in Monument Valley. Item 13, consideration and approval of Lonesome Left Estate Subdivision Amendment number 5. This will be presented by Scott Burton, Planning and Zoning Director. Item number 14, consideration and approval of the updated library public services policy, which will be presented by Nicole, Library Director. Item 15, consideration and approval of the University of Utah Program of Addiction Research, Clinical Care, Knowledge, and Advocacy, which is the PARCA acronym contract. This will be presented by Grant, our Public Health Director. Item 16, consideration and approval of amendment number 1 to the interlocal agreement between San Juan County and the City of Monticello for law enforcement services. This will be presented by the Sheriff. Item 17, consideration and approval of the 2023 Community Impact Fund list, which is the CIB list. I'll present that item. And then item 18, discussion and direction regarding the County Board of County Commissioners and the county staff's legal representation for the 7th Judicial District Court case number 2020-70004. After that, you have commission reports and then the adjournment. That today, Commissioners, is your agenda.
Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with one change. I'd like to move item 9 prior to public comment. This is the SITLA presentation because they have meetings in Moab shortly after this meeting, and I want to give them a chance to make their presentation. Then we can go to public comment, and people that want to comment on their presentation can do that at that time. So that'd be my motion for the agenda.
Okay. Mr. Mayor Boy online?
He's not yet. He's not showed up.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second. Any deletion or addition to the proposed agenda? If not, then call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed? There being none. Motion passed, 2 in favor, 0 opposed. With that, we have Sitla.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for accommodating our tight schedule. We appreciate that. We want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk and answer any questions you may have, so thank you. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Michelle McConkey. I am the new Executive Director of this. It's a really long name. I know you know it by SITLA, but it's the School of Institutional Trust Lands Administration. And I took Dave Ure's place. He retired a couple of months ago, and I'm here with my team. I've got Chris Fawcett, who's over one of our largest groups. We call it the Surface Group. Marla Kennedy, who does communications. Brian Torgerson, I think you probably all know, who works in our Moab office and lives in Monticello here. So we want to start out acknowledging that this is a difficult thing for people in San Juan County. We understand. And so that's why we're here today. We want to talk. We want to get comments. And we've been meeting with stakeholders and getting comments and getting feedback. So we have a map. Hopefully, I don't know if people in the back can see it as well. But to start out, I want to say this is a draft. This is our initial choices of land that we would take in exchange, that we would take from what is currently managed by the federal government. We anticipate adding significant acreage, and we're, again, that's part of why we're here. We're talking to people and getting feedback. And So just to back up a step to kind of explain this a little bit, the pieces used, so the darker purple is the Bears Ears National Monument. The pink squares inside of those are trust lands that we are proposing to exchange out of in return for federal lands, which, again, this is when it's really going to be hard to see all of it, but there's green pieces that we've identified. The current map, we have 21 different counties we would be trading into. San Juan County, by the time we add additional lands, will be around 35,000 acres that will be added that are currently BLM lands. And that would make it the number one county as far as number of acres for the counties that are getting additional new federal land into their counties. And we're looking at adding quite a bit up in Lisbon Valley area and things like that. And maybe we'll go to that in just a second. But I wanted to kind of set the stage first, and then I'll turn it over to Chris Fawcett, who's the expert with the map and the different parcels. But we see this as what could be a tremendous win, not just for the trust, but for San Juan County as well. The trust lands, as I'm sure you all know, we have a mandate to make money for our beneficiaries, and those, we have 12 beneficiaries. The majority of that is a public school system, but there's also, reservoirs, teaching schools, a long list of them. And in order to make money, it helps us to have some of these bigger pieces where we can get some economic development. And that is what we really are wanting to do. I think the interests are aligned as far as wanting economic development in San Juan County. It helps both of us. It helps our beneficiaries, and we want it to help San Juan County as well. So I'll also say I know that there's concern about funding for education, and if exchanging some of these lands hurts education. We don't feel that it does. We feel it actually can help. So the way that the money is apportioned to school districts under the money that SITLA makes, all of the money in the entire state on the 3.4 million acres of land that SITLA manages goes into a permanent fund, which is invested, and proceeds from those investments get distributed to all the school children across the state. And it's based on population. It's not based on how many lands are within a specific county. So for example, we don't have any lands in Salt Lake County, but they get quite a bit. So that's an example. It's not based on that. And again, with us being able to, grazing would still, BLM, we have an agreement that they still honor grazing permits when we do exchanges. And we have some specific policies that our board put into place several years ago to help protect the counties that we're trading out of for that. And in return, we get some land that we feel like can have a better opportunity for economic development. So with that, unless there's any specific questions, thought I'd turn the time over to Chris Fawcett and let him show you some of the things we're thinking about on the map. Thank you.
Let me make one correction, Michelle. You stated that you wanted to trade these lands out so that the county can get more federal lands?
Oh,
no.
That is not what I meant.
I didn't think it was.
I apologize. Please strike that from the record. No, so that we can have, so that there's what is currently federal land can become SITLA land. Which
Thank you.
I
thought that's what you meant. That was a bad statement
Scary.
in this county anyway.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, commissioners, for the opportunity to be here today, and grateful for such a good turnout. And we really do want to hear from people in the county. So I can speak to the map a little bit. As Director McConkey mentioned, it is a draft map. It's still in flux, and we're still looking for input. And the map that we have up is just showing San Juan County. It doesn't show the entire state, but, kind of the focus of the lands that we would like to acquire in San Juan County to pick up are more kind of in the north, I guess the northeastern part of the county there. I don't know if you can see the the cursor. It's pretty small.
Is it? Let me try to blow
But
it up.
yeah, why don't you
Get
blow
over
up
there
that
too.
area and then move over to the east. And so these are the lands that we have on there right now, and we've been consulting with our internal team. We have geologists on staff. We have oil and gas experts on staff, development experts. And we're looking at, besides what's on here, adding significant other acreage, kind of in that Dry Valley area, Lisbon Valley, I guess kind of down south, a little bit, Penn, a little bit south too. Yeah, kind of over in the eastern part of the county there. I mean, these are areas that have been identified that are pretty rich in minerals, as far as potash, oil and gas, copper, a whole slew of different mineral opportunities. And one thing at the trust that we have to be mindful of is we're not looking just for opportunities tomorrow. We're looking for opportunities years into the future, because our trust is not just for the school children of today, but it's for the school children 100 years from now, 200 years from now. And there's, several places in the state where we blocked up lands decades ago that are just paying off for us now. And so we try to get out our crystal ball and try to envision where opportunities in the future are going to be as well. And we see San Juan County is a really important place for that, where there's going to be opportunities coming down for us in the future. And of course, if we're able to make money, then that benefits the county. It brings jobs, brings economic development. And so, yeah, that's some of the things that we're looking for. One of the other things that we've heard is important is, we've got some lands around Blanding there that we'd like to pick up. We'd like to add some more in that area as a potential gateway into the monument. Hotels, resort development, those kinds of things. And we'd like to hear the ideas from the commission, from the public, and any questions that you might have. But it's kind of a quick summary of what we're looking at. One other thing maybe I'll touch on really quick. It's obvious, and I know it's a point of concern, that there's a lot of acreage being traded out of the county and into other places in the state besides San Juan County, even though we're trying to retain some significant acreage here. There is a part of our statute that governs SITLA that's called the Land Exchange Distribution Account, and it's a little complicated, but basically, when we trade out of lands and acquire mineral lands somewhere else outside of the county, say we acquire an oil and gas play or coal or something like that, and that gets developed, then a portion of the revenue that we receive off of that actually comes back to the county that gave up lands in the exchange to help compensate them for that that land that they gave up. I know in the Grand Staircase exchange that we did 20 years ago, we acquired some really lucrative oil and gas targets in Carbon County that brought probably $1 billion into the trust. And a significant part of that actually went back to those counties that gave up lands in that exchange to help them. So we're mindful of the issues that this can cause with grazing and access and those kinds of things. And San Juan County has been very aggressive in working with us to make sure that access across school trust lands is preserved. They were one of the first counties that we worked with on making sure that we've issued easements and rights of way that are perpetual for county roads across all trust lands, so that those will be protected. Those access across those lands will be protected if we ever trade out of them. And we've, like Michelle mentioned, we've also, in any legislation that approves an exchange, there will be, terms in there that protect grazing, that give permits that we acquire, that those will have, non-competitive advantages for those grazing permittees. We've worked to try to perfect wells and things like that to help protect those grazers going forward. So we're trying to be mindful of those concerns, and I think that's all I've got. Any questions or?
Mr. Adams?
Well, appreciate the presentation, and I do understand that you have 12 beneficiaries who put a lot of pressure on you, from universities to people who have reservoirs, schools, all of those kind of things. And I want to acknowledge the fact that that there is a mandate for you to try and do the best you can with this, and you get a lot of pressure from those people. 2 or 3 things that I want to discuss today as a county commissioner. First of all, Sitla's parcels that are leased for grazing, and make sure that everybody knows every pink section on the map is proposed to be traded out. And a lot of those sections are home points for grazers where they have a corral, they have a well, they have some infrastructure there, because frankly, to get that kind of infrastructure on BLM land is to say the least, impossible. So you have a section in the Bears Ears that somebody has leased, a grazer has leased, and you're going to trade that section out, and it becomes BLM land. I know that
No, worse. It's like Park Service or monument land. It's not BLM.
Okay, it doesn't belong to Sitla. That's the point I'm trying to make. So when it doesn't belong to Sitla, Sitla had a mandate to every 10 years or so to offer those parcels for lease again, and maybe get somebody that would bid higher for that section to lease it for grazing. Once that's traded out of the monument and becomes monument land, will that rule still be there? Will the grazer that has that parcel now have that parcel in perpetuity? Or will that come up every 10 years for somebody else to lease? As it was the rule in Sitla, but now it's a monument piece. Does that carry over to the monument?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So in the legislation, so these exchanges have to go through Congress. I mean, it literally takes an act of Congress to accomplish something this big. We've done 2 recent land exchanges in the state. We've done one with the Utah Test and Training Range, and we're currently working on one with the John Dingell Act, with the Emery County Lands Bill. And in each of those exchanges, and this will be the case for this one as well, we write language into that congressional bill that states that those grazers that are on lands that are currently Sitla lands, once those become BLM, the bill requires that the BLM give those permittees a preference right to renew those grazing permits. And it also states that any grazing improvements they have, corrals, wells, or whatever, that those have to be honored. They can't do away with those. So that's written into the federal law.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions. I know that in your mandate to try to trade for lands that would be more productive. I talked to a geologist out of Bluff. His name is Gene Stevenson. He put together a map for minerals, because minerals are a big part of what you like to trade into. And if you look at the map, Dry Valley 70, Lisbon Valley 68, and then if you go west of Dry Valley, there's a lot of BLM land down in that area. So all the way across from Dry Valley 70 over to the edge of the map and down on the west side of that big block of Sitla sections, he identified that as really, really valuable land as far as minerals, and I've given you that map that he produced for us. And then there are a number of other mineral parcels north of Dry Valley, even up to 3 Mile and up by LaSalle and other places. And if those lands were made more accessible by being Sitla lands, then it would be easier for the oil and gas people and the potash and whatever to drill on them, and more possible that you could make more money. And I think if I was king of Sitla today, I would ask you to trade every pink parcel in Bears Ears for some place in San Juan County, and maybe the northern part is more reasonable because of the amount of artifacts that are in the southern part of the county, and that's why I think Mr. Stevens made that suggestion that it would be more accessible to drilling if it was traded out in the northern part of the county. And again, we discussed this before, and you look at all of the entry points into the Bears Ears, there's really only one, and that's 95, Highway 95 out of Blanding. And if you had a facility there with a visitor center like they have in Zions or Bryce or Arches or something like that, even trying to accommodate more infrastructure such as motels, eating facilities, tour guides, all of those kind of things, I think that would help you in your mandate and help San Juan County in what they're trying to do to develop more economic development in the county. We have, and I've told you this before, we have 440,000 acres of private property in San Juan County out of 5 million. And so those private property owners right now are carrying the major portion of the burden of property tax, and that's difficult for us, but certainly other counties develop more resort type things and bring a lot of other kinds of tax money to their counties. And so I'm suggesting that you look at that entry point south of Blanding on 95 and try to, we made these suggestions as an advisory committee to the Bears Ears Monument Advisory Committee. And in the 4 or 5 years I've sat on there, there's really not much happening, and people really don't know where to go in Bears Ears, and we end up having to search for them and rescue them in one way or another. If we had a visitor center and an entry point, I think it would alleviate a lot of problems, not only for the county, but for the visitors. But I guess I'll stop.
Well, I'd love to comment. I think this is what you're talking about is a great example of how our interests can align, because we also want there to be development. And we've got smart geologists in our agency. It sounds like you're talking to a smart geologist, because we've come up with very similar information that there's a lot of mineral potential in those areas, which is why, again, this is a initial pieces we've identified, but there's a lot more land up there that we are intending to add to it. So, and as you said, it's true. Sitla tends to be easier to work on than the federal government. We don't have NEPA requirements and things like that, for example. So it's a little easier to get economic development going. So if we can get larger blocks, sometimes it's hard for an oil and gas company or whatever to go on to 640 acres in a sea of BLM. But if we can have some larger blocks, that makes it much more appealing. So I agree.
The map you have now is fluid. It's not a final
It's not a final map.
decision.
No.
People need to understand you're still receiving input
We are.
from concerned citizens groups or whatever in San Juan County.
Other counties as well.
Suggestions,
We've been visiting counties and getting input, and that's exactly why we're here and why we're want to talk to people. Absolutely. Yes, please, Commissioner Gray asked, did you have something? Oh, no. Okay. I apologize.
So we do have Commissioner Mary Boy online as well. On the phone.
Great.
We're on Sitla. You have any question, Mr. Maryboy?
No, I don't. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
We could go to public comment now, and then the public could interact.
There's no further question from the commissioners. We'll go to public hearing.
The public comments.
I'm
Public
sure nobody
comment.
has anything to say about this.
So just as a reminder, with our public, appreciate it, Chris. With our public comment period, hopefully you've had an opportunity to sign up. We'll take the public comments in order off of our sign up sheet. And so just make sure if you're wanting to make a comment that you sign up. With that, we will allow 3 minutes for each public comment regarding whatever the subject matter is. Be courteous and kind, obviously, with the public comments that you're making. If you hear somebody else say it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to state the same thing. So try not to be repetitive as much as possible. The commissioners are here; they're hearing you. Commissioner Maryboy is online and hearing you as well. And so, try not to be repetitive. Be courteous, kind. We do have multiple sheriffs here, and so I'd be afraid, we fear for that. And so, with that, we will take those members of the audience here first as public comments, and then proceed to those individuals that are online after that fact. If you are online, there is a feature on here where you can raise your hand to make a comment. And so if you are wishing to make a public comment on here, do raise your hand and we will recognize you accordingly. And then at the end, if you're unable to exercise that option in Zoom, then we will ask you to unmute yourselves. But with that being said, let me get the list real fast. All right, the first one on our list, I have Cindy Holyoke. And then just state your name or where you reside in the county is probably, I'll state your name, but go ahead and just state
Hey,
where
as
you
he
reside.
said, I am Cindy Holyoke. I am an elected official for San Juan County. I am also a department head. I want it on record that I am here to speak out against the politics of Mark Maryboy and Willie Gray Eyes, commissioners of San Juan County. And I am here to implore the Attorney General to investigate and press charges. What is the definition of collusion? Secret or illegal cooperation or conspiracy, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. How many secret meetings took place for the recent dealings of this last month? How many just for the attorney position? No wonder the commissioners refused the grammar request for text messages and emails. Can you imagine what we would find? By what authority can Willie Gray Eyes give notice of an open attorney position? This notice went out to every attorney in the state with his name on it. Who was in on this? Who was Mr. Gray Eyes colluding with? Liz Thomas? This is malfeasance of office. In Mr. Gray Eyes' memo for this meeting, I don't know how many of you read it, he mentions that he and Mr. Maryboy have sought their own private counsel. So when did this agreement and discussion take place? This is collusion. And they obviously violated the Open Meetings Act to discuss this, and by doing so, also broke their oath of office again. The resolution presented by Willie Gray Eyes and Mark Maryboy was passed on April 19th, but should have been titled, yes, sir.
It's Kenneth Maryboy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Should have been titled, "We Resolve to Break the Law." And Mr. Gray Eyes was warned that there would be a lawsuit filed against the county if the resolution was passed. But apparently, our commissioners don't care if all of our tax dollars bleed to lawsuits, avoidable lawsuits. So no wonder they don't want our emergency personnel and our law enforcement to be paid any overtime. They're budgeting for another lawsuit. I believe that if an employee intentionally prompted a loss of this nature, they would be fired. Well, my department doesn't work for lawlessness and collusion. You're not my commissioners. You have broken your oath of office and no longer qualify to hold your positions. Thank you.
Also, just to get quickly through this, if we can avoid clapping or we'll proceed. I've got Megan Gallegos as number 2.
Good morning. My name is Megan Gallegos. I reside here in Monticello. Not only do I agree with Cindy, but there's a couple of other things. Like, you guys hold the highest administrative level in our county, but you knowingly and openly break the law. That is not a good role model for your employees. You guys should hold the law and set a good example for your employees to abide by the law. I looked at a letter that was written by Commissioner Grayeyes and is in the agenda under item number 18. And I quote, "However, the commission is committed to addressing the problem and filling the vacancy of our county attorney's office with the best qualified applicant." I don't know how any of the 4 are not qualified applicants. I don't know what in your guys' minds believe that they are not qualified, but one in particular that I believe, in my opinion, to be overly qualified is Mr. Alex Goebel. He has worked for the county for 3 years. And regardless of anything that happens in the next 9 months, he will take office January 1st of 2023. Why would we put somebody else in there to just barely grasp the ropes of how to do that job just to switch out? It makes the most cost-effective sense to appoint Mr. Alex. I mean, that's my honest opinion. This is just, I don't want to work for San Juan County anymore. I have absolutely no respect for how it is being ran. And if something doesn't change, I mean, it's going to be detrimental for you guys and the employees that you start to lose because of how it's being ran. Thank you.
Okay, let's see the next one on here. I have Gail Johnson. Please state where you live within the county as well.
My name's Gail Johnson. I live out in Fry Canyon, out by Lake Powell. We run a ranch out there, and I want to speak to the Sitla situation. I appreciate you coming and doing this. And I don't want to be fault finding because I know you're all, particularly you, Michelle, are new at getting into this. But most of us who came here because of Sitla didn't know about this until about 5 o'clock this morning. So if you really want to talk to the stakeholders in San Juan County, I would ask that you have more public hearings down here that people know ahead of time to come. I know there's several, probably half the group here is because of Sitla, but we didn't know about it until everybody started text messaging and I call people and get them out of bed. Because we do want to have some input on this, and we know most of us are just grazers out here and we're not considered valid people, but we are valid people and we have a valid investment. We've invested our lives in these lands. So I would, and we've never been able to see a map until now. Even though they're just proposal maps, it would be wonderful if those maps were put out public and specifically say, they're draft and they're going to be changed and they're fluid or whatever. But we hear all these kinds of things, but gossip is really bad, and it's reflected poorly on you because we've not had access to what you're doing. And so I would ask you to slow the process down. There's no hurry to do this. Slow the process down. Have some more public hearings that are well announced. Put these maps out so people can look at them and study them and put what your proposals are and be more specific about that so that we're not doing this word of mouth kind of thing anymore. It's not so much what you're doing, it's how it's being done, at least it's up to now. So I know there's change in administration, so hopefully you'll make some changes in doing that. I do want to speak to the fact that these scattered sections, no one knows. You talked about the future. No one knows what's under those grounds. People didn't used to know what uranium was, and they thought it wasn't any good, and they found out how good that was. We don't know what the future is for our children in those grounds because we don't know what's under that in the subsurface in lots of those places. So they're not necessarily valueless. And the surface itself, now that it has become a monument, those lands in there, either the private land and the settler lands, have become much more valuable in surface rights themselves, because people want to buy little pieces of ground out there and sit on the rim and look off. Now, it might be valueless to you in terms of minerals and tourism and things like that, but to rich people who want to buy a little piece of the pie out there, I've got a pile of rocks out there I'd be glad to sell for $1 million, and I'll bet you I could find somebody who would do that. So you do have value in those surface rights as well as the unknown subsurface. So I want you to consider that. And also, I noticed that maybe you're just trading sections within the monument. If it's a letter that you wrote to the school district was that you were going to do these trades anyway, well, why are you not trading lands outside the monument as well? I don't understand why it's just within the monument unless there's some kind of push from the federal level to do that, because I think the state has a real advantage by hanging on to as many of those state sections as possible. And those ones you do trade out, I agree with Bruce, they ought to stay. That trade ought to be stayed right here in San Juan County, because we have all the minerals and all the development and all the need for that as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, the next one on here is Silvia Stubbs.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad that you can come and see San Juan County and visit with us. My name is Silvia Stubbs. I am a former educator, and one of my biggest things during my tenure as an educator was an advocacy for children. So today I'm here to represent the children of the county right now and the future children. So because this land is not only our land, but it's their land. And I'm glad for some of the comments that have been made and some of the things you said, how you vision that being this land for hundreds of years. I like what has been said about transparency. I think one thing I found out when I moved to San Juan County about 44 years ago, the people here have lots of good common sense. They have survived many, many things, and I have learned a lot from them. And so I think that we appreciate you coming and talking to us. And I want to tell a little story. We had, when our son was a young boy, it was disagreement with another boy. My husband walked to the place and asked for the father and the boy, and my husband told the boys, you guys go walk and come back when you're in agreement. So today, and they have become really good friends for years to come. So today I want to invite you to keep coming and walking with us. We want to be friends. We have been divided so much in this county that we just don't know who our friends are. And I come from a country where I grew up as a little girl, not knowing who my friends were. And it's not a fun thing to be that way. I just want to, the agenda said this is an update. So I don't know if we have missed other meetings or other things, but we want to know. We want to work together. We want to see what's best for us and what's best for your mandate, because I know it is a good thing, what you're doing, but we need to work together. And one of the things I want to say is that if you see a map, we said we only have 8% for us to sustain ourselves here. So I agree with the idea, why not add to the 8% so we can have a better tax base? People are leaving San Juan County job because of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next one on our list is Mary Shelley.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Commissioners, appreciate this. And Michelle, specifically, well, let me back up. I'm Mary Shumway. I am a lifetime resident of San Juan County. I live in Blanding, and I'm serving my 22nd year on the school board. I grew up with a father who was a mayor, a county commissioner, a state legislator, sat on the state land board and the national land board under the Reagan administration under Secretary James Watt. So I have a lifetime background in how important land is, and they're not making any more of it. So if you, let's see, I've got this little pie chart that Sylvia just mentioned, and I want to share this with you. My goal, my next project will be to create a pie chart like this of every county so that people can understand why we panic when it comes to land. We have the 8% that, as Sylvia mentioned, that is private. When school districts fund education with income tax and property tax, and in San Juan County, we also get federal impact aid for the 38%. Well, this 38% here that says that it's Indian lands or tribal lands, we get impact aid from the federal government if a child resides on federal land and is enrolled in our schools. As opposed to the way the funding works in the 8% that we can, it doesn't matter if somebody's living in a home or not living in a home, if the land is vacant. For instance, at the south end of Blanding, we have Old Timer Restaurant that was a thriving restaurant for a while. It's now vacant. Regardless, we get taxed from, doesn't matter if it's an open restaurant or a closed restaurant. Somebody's got to pay the taxes on that. And sad to say, but we're kind of a failing economy right now. Years ago, San Juan County used to be the second wealthiest county in the state. Second to Salt Lake County, and Salt Lake County was the wealthiest because of mineral extraction, because of Kennecott copper. We are the poorest, or one of the poorest. Garfield may be as poor as we are now. And a lot of that has to do with the land grab and the sitless sections all being traded out of Garfield County. So I appreciate so much your offer to meet with us, and that this is a draft now. I personally had a discussion with Dave Ure, who told me this was in February. You've got a week to propose some maps, and it's going through. We're going to push this through. So thank you for backing up and having a proposal, and we look forward to meeting with you on this, because it can be a benefit for San Juan County to do some trades. My dad was involved in the very first land trade, but it is interesting to note that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this would be the 4th large land trade and the 6th. Yeah. And no other state in the nation has made these land trades.
That's time right there.
Is that right? Okay. All right. Thank you for, and we'll
keep talking.
Okay, the next one we've got is Val Dalton.
Thank you.
Val Dalton?
Thank you.
Who is it?
Val Dalton. Monticello.
Well, I'm Val Dalton in Monticello, and I'm a livestock rancher, and I've run on a lot of these state sections that are in the isolated sections, and I lease a lot of them. And I've been involved in a couple of trades when you've traded some of these out that were in the national park, the Gun Canyon Recreation Area, and the other state sections. And I wasn't happy when you traded those out. And I'm not happy about trading these sections out. San Juan County needs more private ground or land that we can access to make a living on. When the land gets tied up in these federal bureaucracies, and I don't care if it's an Indian reservation or a park service or a national monument, any of these, they are lost for development to the whole rest of the county to make a living on. The only people that can make a living on those lands are the government employees. The other people, even if they're running an outfitting business that goes in there as a guiding tourist, they have to have a private land base to do it. And we're lacking in private land. I think every acre traded out ought to be traded out for land in the county, regardless. And we need our access protected for the use of the lands that are in these areas. Our developments and our improvements on these lands need to be better protected, because when they're traded out to the BLM or the Department of Interior, Park Service, whatever, they are subject to all their existing regulations and the interpretations. And every time you get a new area manager, you get a new Department of Interior, everything changes. Every time you get a new president, as with the Bears Ears National Monument, everything changed as soon as the president changed. Not just once, but it's already been twice. And it could be a third time. We, as residents of the county, have to live with that. And our livelihoods depend on it. And I'm not sure how much longer we can survive with all this uncertainty, because my bankers don't like it. My family doesn't like it. And I've got, I'm a third or fourth generation rancher here. My sons and stuff are involved with it, and I just not sure how much longer we can put up with them. They're talking about selling out and moving to Texas, where it's private, or someplace where they can get a private ranch, because it's hard to make a living on these federal lands because of all the regulations. And the state lands is one thing that's protected us from these isolated state sections, have protected us.
That's time right there, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, the next one we have on here is Doug Allen.
Doug Allen from Gonzales. I'd like to speak on the county attorney, interim county attorney process here. I read that the 4 that were proposed were not bona fide attorneys. So I looked up, what's bona fide mean? So I got out my dictionary. It's about this thick, not a Wikipedia or something like that can be changed. And it says someone that doesn't have the best interests of the organization. So what you're saying by your vote last meeting was 4 attorneys in San Juan County don't have the best interests in this county, even though they're members of the Utah Bar. They're qualified attorneys. One's running for office and will be our county attorney. One was our former attorney. One was our city attorney in Monticello. I would like to suggest, if that's your definition of bona fide, I have a definition for this commission. We have 2 county commissioners that are not bona fide for San Juan County. Thank you.
Okay, the next one on here, I've got Tiffany Dalton. Hey, Tiffany.
I'm Tiffany Dalton. I live in San Juan County. We also run a cattle ranch that is exclusively inside the purple area. And so our ranch is, everything is changing for us. And then I just wanted to speak towards the water rights. We feel like the SITLA has currently turned over all the decision making to the BLM process, in that all the well applications and the projects that we had submitted through SITLA are now being passed back to the BLM for review. And so therefore we're already experiencing the encumbrance of dealing with the BLM. The well permits that we've requested, that we keep every time we contact SITLA and talk about those water rights, the can is kicked further down the road. Yes, those are all approved. You'll have it by Friday. Call them Monday. No, I'm sorry, we missed something. That we'll push it down until Thursday. So since January 17th, we've actually finally got start cards last week on a couple of our wells, but the vast majority of our projects are still in the BLM encumbrance between SITLA and them. So I don't know that if people here know or understand as a grazer and a rancher how it is to work with the BLM. But I want to play on what Silvia said. that we need friends, and we feel like Sitla has an abundance of power right now. And the checkerboard sections of how this was designed actually gives Sitla a lot of power because it spreads this out. And so as a grazer, then because we get to work with you, then we have leverage with the BLM to access Sitla. And so we hope that we can be friends. We need to be friends because you hold the power. And when you start trading it out and moving it to different places, then the BLM gets exclusive power. They get a monopoly in power. And just like Dad was saying, once the BLM can just write a letter that says, as of effectively now, we will now start charging you X amount of fee to manage this process or whatever. They answer to no one. They report to no one. They do whatever they want. And so we need you to realize the power that you have and the power that you have to represent us. And please don't trade it. Don't give it away. We have enough federal lands. We have enough federal jurisdiction. We need you to recognize how valuable this is and how valuable location is. There's so many parks and public lands that we could set ourselves up as a county to really, really profit from this. Lake Powell, look, there's no competition with Lake Powell, and so they are tanking. And back when it was first started filling up, it was very prosperous. But because we blocked all the access and we have no private entity that can compete with a government organization, they can run it however they want, including run it into the ground and not serve
time
people.
right there, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next one on here, I have Lori Mon.
I'm Lori Mon from Monticello, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of the San Juan School District. I am their school board president at this current time, and so we actually on February 9th at our meeting we passed a motion collectively that would oppose any proposed trade that would move designated trust land properties from within San Juan County. And so we sent that letter to the county commissioners. I assume you have all read that. Have you seen our letter with that? I don't know if you have or not. But, and Mary actually stated many of the reasons as to why we oppose that as a board. And so just to highlight just a couple of things is the fact that federal government has crippled San Juan County's ability to provide jobs and to flourish by the land grabs over the past 40 years. And so as we talked about this, we collectively signed this letter. And so it would be so I'll just list you the names real quick. It's Lori Mon, board president, Steve Black, board vice president, Lucille Cody, board member, Mary Shumway, board member, Nelson Yellerman, board member, and Ron Nelson, the superintendent, who is not here today, and Tyrell Pemberton, RBA. And so we did receive a response back from your office to possibly get together and meet, which I think would be a great idea. We have just not responded as we have not made that connection to make that meeting. So we will try and reach out with you, but we do appreciate that you are willing to listen and understand our position as well as everyone else in the room that has spoken that has concerns regards to this. And I hope that, like Silvia said, we can make a good working relationship and a friendship that benefits the students of this county and also the individuals who live in this county. Thank you.
Okay, the next one on the list here is Kyle Kimmerly. Hey, Kyle.
Thank you. My name is Kyle Kimmerly. I would like to maybe pick up where Mary left off. She mentioned that San Juan County currently is a failing economic county, but used to be I thought it was number one, but she says number two per capita in the state. And the reason that we used to be number one and we're currently dead last is three things: uranium, oil, and potash. When we were the richest, we were developing all three: uranium, oil, and potash. I can only speak for, well, I first want to say a little bit about Bears Ears. It was absolutely not about protecting the antiquities. Anyone who's been up to see some of the sites since it was made can testify of that. It was about increasing tourism in this area. I come from Moab, where I want to testify. You can come see with your eyes anytime you want. Tourism does not provide a living wage. You barely get enough to pay your rent, and with government assistance, your food. What does pay living wage is resource extraction jobs, and that's what San Juan County is getting out of this Bears Ears, is a trade of resource extraction jobs for tourist jobs. And if you want to see what's going to happen, drive through Moab anytime you want. Personally, Kimberly Mining inside the Bears Ears controls mining claims that have a resource of about 1.3 million pounds of uranium, 400,000 pounds of vanadium. I just did a quick back of the envelope calculation on the way down. That's worth about $80 million. In a normal market, about 80% of that $80 million would get distributed for expenses, truckers, miners, millers, explosive salesmen, fuel salesmen, and the like. 10% would go to San Juan County as an ad valorem tax, and 10% would go to the mine owner as a profit. Now, admittedly, these mines haven't been producing for a long time, since the 70s mainly. The reason is, worldwide, these types of deposits would be considered marginal. We can get it cheaper from China. We can get it cheaper from Russia. But I'll tell you what, a lot of people in Eastern Europe, millions of people in Eastern Europe this morning woke up and went down to heat a cup of coffee or fry an egg, and no gas came out of the stove. 40% of the United States uranium comes from Russia, the same country who just cut off Eastern Europe. They could do the same to us. And I just want to say, in finality here, this is not Sitla's fault. Sitla didn't create this monument, but Sitla's in a beautiful seat to help mitigate the impact to those of us who have been hurt by it. San Juan County and mine owners and ranchers and everyone else you're hearing from. Please do the right thing.
Thanks, Sam. All right, the next one on here, I've got Representative Lyman. He signed it as Phil.
This is the Bill Lyman.
That's what I should say.
Thank you, and thanks for having this meeting today. Thanks for coming down. It's good to meet you guys yesterday. Phil Lyman, currently in the House of Representatives, former county commissioner from Blanding, Utah. I'm very connected to the land and the issues for a lifetime. Right now, the BLM director is a woman by the name of Tracy Stone Manning. She's formerly a tree spiker, which is, as you know, you put the spikes in the trees, hoping that when a person goes to cut it down, their chainsaw will hit that spike and it will injure the person. So it's a terrorist that we have at the head of the BLM. Deputy director is Nada Culver, formerly with the Wilderness Society, and head of their BLM action group, which was their stated purpose was to take advantage of the dysfunction of the BLM by going in and training and giving them the materials, training the people on how to run the BLM. If you remember way back, we had signs on bumper stickers saying "No Moo" by 92 and "Cattle Free" by 93 and things like that. There's no question when these administrations switch, back in the Obama administration, we had Sally Jewell, the Secretary of Interior, and it was night and day from when it switched over to Donald Trump. Now you've got the Biden administration back in charge with these activists running the agencies. So you look at and as I explained yesterday, the sitless sections are a safety net. They cover a county, they cover the state, and they were put there for a purpose in that dispersed pattern as a safety net. As I look at that pattern, I think, who controls all of that area out there? And the answer, if you believe in statehood, is Sitla controls that. The federal government is just a proprietor. They don't have the same standing of ownership or control or jurisdiction constitutionally as you do, as Sitla does. And we need Sitla to to defend us. If those parcels are devalued by the existence of a monument, then I would like Sitla to take some of their $3.5 billion and help us fight the monument. The other thing that I want to say, and I don't want to be redundant from what some of the things I said yesterday, but Sitla's beneficiaries are the school children, and we hear often, we're doing this for the school children. Everything we do, everything anybody in this room does is for their children. Everything we do in San Juan County is for our children. This is, I'm pointing up there because that's where the map used to be. Those lands are there for the people of San Juan County. They're there for our children. They are important to us. And as you've heard before, I just echo the sentiments. Please stand with San Juan County. Stand up for us in San Juan County. Don't sell us out. Don't take these Sitla sections and trade them off without regard to what it's doing to the people that live in this county. Thank you.
The next one on here, I have Nicole Perkins. Seen her out in the hall. Hey, there she is.
Good morning, Commissioners. First, I just want to thank you for being willing to listen to the concerned citizens and employees of the county. For the past 2 years, I've been the director over the libraries, and when I first took on the position, the first thing I did was I looked at the budget and where we were at and how we needed to make some drastic changes and cuts. And I think the administrator and you commissioners can attest to the fact that I've really got in and dug in and slashed everywhere I could, and without having to compromise the quality of our libraries. I had a conversation with one of my staff members a few days ago that didn't understand why they couldn't have some of the requests. And I said, it just isn't in the budget. And they said, well, why can't you just put it in the budget? I said, because the money isn't there. We used to be, again, it's been said many times here today, one of the richest counties in Utah, and now we are one of the poorest. And that's because we are limited in how we obtain our funding. And I've become very familiar with where that funding has come from, and more of the burden is being pushed to the taxpayer, who already is struggling to feed their families and to pay their rent and to pay their mortgages. I just want to encourage Sitla people to please take in mind that how that affects our budgets, where that land goes and where it's traded out to, and if at all possible to keep it in San Juan County, because it is a huge part of how we fund and are able to continue living in this land that we love so much. My other concern is with the attorney position and the possibility of a lawsuit and the cost it will cost. And again, that reflects back, everything goes back to my budget that I'm concerned about, or most things go back to my budget. And then how that could affect having to fight a lawsuit. And do I again need to go back and start cutting my budget again to compensate for a lawsuit? That isn't necessary when we do have qualified candidates. Again, I thank you for this time to speak, and I appreciate your willingness to hear us out, and thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Next one I have on here is Rick Meyer.
So I am Rick Meyer. I'm the elected county assessor over San Juan County, and it's a pleasure to be here. And being an elected official is a great opportunity. So just listening to the comments this morning and thinking about Sitla lands. So I'm a lifetime resident here, and we run cattle. I hope you Sitla people are not being pushed into making this trade before the next election. I think we can slow down this process and wait for the next election and see what happens with our elected people. I hope the BLM is not pushing you to make these trades. And as county assessor, we have 15,000 people in this county. 7,000 of those people do not pay property taxes. So there's about half the county that runs the burden of running this county and paying for all the things we need here in this county. So that's something to remember here. is that Sitla land is very important for our future. Private land is a basis for our economic development and for our resource in the future. So I hope you commissioners will support the Sitla people in saying, slow down, let's think about this really carefully, and maybe, as been spoken, the next president could change this whole thing. And there is no need to trade it out of a monument. So thank you very much and appreciate your time.
The next one looks like I have on here is Gail Johnson.
Yes, it's Gail Johnson.
Okay, sorry.
I had a lot to do with you guys, still. I was state representative when Mel Brand ran the bill that created you. I know Dave Ure quite well. Well, I heard about this, and I don't ranch. I'm not a rancher. And so I don't have any dog in that fight. But I saw how there was such a rush, and it really surprised me with Dave Ure. Dave Ure has always been a tremendous supporter of rural Utah and a tremendous supporter of agriculture. And rural Utah and agriculture were both getting the shaft here, big time. And I could not figure out why you're in such a hurry. I still don't understand that. Rick Meyer talked about with what's going on in Washington. The Democrats have all but shot themselves in the head. They're not going to win they're going to lose the House, they're going to lose the Senate, and they're going to lose the presidency in the next presidential election. We don't know what's going to happen with these lands. Now, why did we develop these? Why did this happen? I was watching a thing on Netflix about the oceans, and they had the past director of the Sierra Club talking about what's going on with a lot of these organizations. They won a lot of their battles, and so their people are losing interest in paying dues to these organizations. They got to have some hot issue. And that way they pay dues, and it's all about their job. Now, this was the past director of Sierra Club that said this. I think that's exactly what's going on here. You look at the way the lands are going to be managed, it's the exact worst way in the world. Look at Arches, 4 million people a year and tromping that into the ground. Is that what you want here? That's what's happening when they developed that national monument. It makes absolutely no sense. It's the worst way in the world to manage if you want to preserve the land. So that's the national monument, the way I feel about it. It doesn't make any sense. As far as Sitla goes, why are you in such a hurry? There is no reason. BLM wants this land. Then don't give it to them. They'll raise their price. You know, they want it. Then just hang back. That's the first thing. The second thing is water rights. I've watched these ranchers buy these drill rigs and go out and are drilling on these state lands because they can do it. It's getting the cattle away from the riparian areas. Everybody's worried about that. It's spreading the cattle out. It's a good thing. You guys are selling you're dragging it, you're ripping the rug right out from under them. Why are you in such a hurry? There is no reason to be in such a hurry. It does not make any sense at all. And I don't know what the gun is to your head. I don't know what's going on here. But for the people of the state of Utah and our school children, you're much better off if you hold off a little bit and let this go forward.
That's time right there. Sir.
Okay. Thank you. Just don't be in such a hurry.
Okay, let's see, moving forward on here. I don't have anybody else signed up for the audience. Yeah, you want to sign up? Or just come up, just state your name and where you reside in the county, and then we'll get you.
My name's Tyler Ivins. I'm a local rancher.
You know how to spell your name, don't you?
Tyler.
Okay.
Ivins. Local rancher again. I appreciate you guys coming down. Live in Blanding, Utah, 6th generation rancher in the area. The Sitla sections are literally the lifeblood of what we do and how we ranch. The access and the ability to manage those and develop those is literally how we are able to ranch in this area. As you drive through San Juan County, nobody would want to ranch here because it's just dirt. And if we didn't have those sections, those Sitla sections, we couldn't do it. the ability to drill wells and access those and develop those areas literally makes it possible to do that here. The state has invested millions in the last few years to drill wells, like Tiffany talked about. Drilling wells has changed our lives, changed the ability to ranch here and manage the cattle, like Kill also touched on. It's changed how we've done that, and I can't believe Sitla will. Are they going to? What are they going to do with those water rights? Are they going to just give them over to the BLM? I mean, that's a huge investment that the state has given to the area, and so that's one of our concerns: is what's going to happen with those water rights. Are they going to transfer over to the permittees? Are they going to just go to the BLM and be held hostage? Are we still going to be able to use those? There's a lot of questions that we have as far as grazing, water rights. The state has invested millions and are continuing to invest millions, and local people have invested millions to be able to do that. And so that's one of our concerns, is the water rights and how that'll be transferred over, the grazing permits. There's just so many unknowns, and that's one of our biggest fears, is the unknown. How can we plan for even 5 years down the road if we don't know these things? And so we would really like to slow down and have some of these questions answered before we jump into it. We know that the Sitla sections and everything that goes into it, that's our biggest concern. We appreciate you guys coming down. We appreciate being able to see a map and understanding what's going to happen. But we would like some input and at least some knowledge on what some of these questions are going to be answered, or if they've been addressed, and can we know those things? Can we get links to these maps, and so we know what's going on? We have hundreds of thousands of acres inside the monument that are going to be traded out. What's going to happen with that? Just some questions that we have, and we'd like to sit down and have some answers, I guess. But we appreciate your guys' time and coming down and visiting with us.
Thanks, Tyler. Okay, next up.
Thank you for the opportunity to have this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Vic Meehan. Live east of town on Howlers Road. And my remarks today is concerning the commission and the future of this county. Me and my wife is a local resident, but I have myself only been out here for 7 years. Majority of my time working here, I worked at the Welcome Center. And there was one thing that was very famous when I was working at the Welcome Center. That was most people didn't even know where the heck Monticello was. Most people, even in the Salt Lake Valley, didn't even know where Monticello was. I asked several missionaries, did you even know about Monticello? They said, no. We knew about Moab, but we didn't know about Monticello. This county could have a very bright future if it would actually invest in its future. At the time speaking, as county commissioners, you are supposed to represent the people. The county commissioners are not to represent no special interest groups, no outside influence. You are elected to represent us. That is your job. And these lawsuits ain't helping our county by any means. If anything, it's helping destroy the county. As far as the Bears Ear is concerned, and the lands that this county has, it should stay in San Juan County. It should not be sold, should be traded by the federal government. Utah has been robbed enough of its lands by the federal government for a long time. And the state of Nevada only owns about 10% of its own state. If we don't watch it, we can be worse than Nevada. The people here needs jobs. They need something for the children to look forward to, for their children to say, yeah, I want to stay in San Juan County because I can support my family. Right now, if you look around San Juan County, you see more businesses going under than they are opening. There's not a lot of business. There's not a lot of future here in San Juan County. There's not really a lot of good jobs. Most of the jobs are being run down. And you as county commissioners need to find ways to attract jobs, not to scare them away with taxes and such. You need to find ways to help our county and stop trying to side with the federal government, such as with Bears Ears, and trying to give more of our county away to the feds. The feds own enough of our county as it is.
That's time right there, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thanks. Okay, go ahead. Come on up.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Gary Mooneyhan, Sr. I just moved here from the state of North Carolina. And we lived in Richmond County in North Carolina. And what I'm listening to, the people in Richmond County of North Carolina was having the same problem. I want to remind everybody of that flag, the United States of America flag. That flag in this country was developed by the people, for the people. And that's what the Constitution was developed for. The Lord has blessed this country, but He's given all of us a second greatest commandment, to love one another and serve one another. We are all brothers and sisters. You know, I watched a movie, and it was called Cool Hand Luke. And there's a scene in there, and he says, what we got here is a lack of communication. And that's what I'm hearing the whole time I'm sitting back there. I might not have a right to say anything, but in order to get things accomplished, you must communicate. There's a scripture in Proverbs that says, listening is the beginning of understanding. It's also the beginning of communication. Now, the Lord put us here on this earth for all of us to work together and to help one another. And you ain't going to get past that. We all going to be held accountable for what our actions. But we're here to serve one another. And it's real simple. All you got to do is listen to one another and work together. You know, I don't have a lot to say here because I've just only been here a year. But the principle never changes. The people might change, but the principles never change. And that's all I want to say, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, sir. Okay, anybody else in the audience wishing to make a public comment? Not seeing anyone raise their hands. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to online. Let's see. Whoa. Got a window in the way. So I do have a hand raised, looks like by Rebecca Benali. Hey, Rebecca, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, commissioners and San Juan County employees. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. As I listen here to all the comments and the two issues at hand, the county attorneys and Sitla land. But in reality, we're talking about the livelihood of San Juan County residents. How do we make ends meet? We talk about Sitla land that greatly affects the students of San Juan County, both south and north, trying to provide a quality education with minimal amount of funds. And then also talking about understanding what our jobs is as employees, commissioners, and San Juan County residents. If you've never put in an honest day of work, you wouldn't understand what quality work is. And if you're hounded for 15 minutes overtime because the county doesn't have the funds to pay you just 15 minutes of overtime, and that's a reality. So the more we dig ourselves deeper and deeper into poverty or being the poorest county in the state of Utah, we have great minds and great abilities by San Juan County residents. We need to pull together, not apart. There's a quote that says, great leaders bring people together and unite, but not to create separation or divide. So we need to become responsible and accountable for our actions. And let's try to understand what it means to put in an honest day of work and not to be hounded for 15 minutes overtime when you're actually putting in quality work. This is the reality. This is boots on the ground reality. So I just want to state my concern of where San Juan County is headed. We need great leadership. We need sound minds. We need innovative ideas. We need creativity to bring San Juan County out of being the poorest county in the state of Utah. We have the ability to do it. So I just want to raise my concerns about how we're trying to talk about the livelihood of San Juan County residents. It doesn't matter if you're Native American or a rancher or an ATVer or farmers or a school teacher or a doctor. We have the greatest resources here in the county. Let's utilize those. Let's come together. Let's work together. Let's cross the party lines and be good people and work together. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands raised online. If you're wishing to make a public comment on here, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we'll take those unmuted in order. I'm not seeing anyone unmute themselves, commissioners. That today is your public comment period.
Thank you for all the public comment. Appreciate. Next, we go to consent agenda.
All right. Let me get back to our meeting. Okay, so on the consent agenda item today, you have approval of the April 5th, 2022 commission meeting minutes, approval of the April 19th, 2022 commission meeting minutes, approval of the check registers for April 15th to April 30th, approval of $10,255 in small purchases, $5,000 for branded emergency management app within the emergency management department, $3,655 for 30-second commercial visitor services, $1,600 for Economic Development Corporation of Utah's annual membership for economic development staff. Item 5, approval of the renewal of the Veterans Care Agreement with the Department of Veterans Affairs. Number 6, you have the approval of a $4,762 purchase for the proximity service for the co-working space entry system in Monticello Library. Item number 7, approval of the memorandum of understanding agreement with the Utah Department of Emergency Management for the annual renewal of a special needs registry. Item number 8, approval of the San Juan County minimum performance standards for fiscal year 2022. Amendment number 1 with the Utah Department of Health and Human Services.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Beardboy,
I'll second the motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented.
any question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Update presentation from the Utah State, which is already taken care of.
Correct. So we are on item number 10, San Juan
Number
County
10.
Sales Tax Leakage Report. Right, Elaine, our Director of Economic Development, and all things good.
Thank you for letting me present this. This was a very interesting report. I sent it out, and if you haven't looked at it, and I wish the Sitla people could be here to hear this information. But this is, I believe, the first time we had the sales leakage analysis done by Zions Bank. And it really what it is, it's a sales gap analysis to estimate the amount and type of purchases being made by San Juan County residents outside of San Juan County, hence the leakage. So it reflects the sales that are lost to other communities from San Juan County. And bottom line is that San Juan County has lost in 2021 estimated about $94 million of revenue that has gone out to other areas, and which is kind of frightening because what it does, overall San Juan County reflects a total capture rate of close to 50% of resident sales, indicating that the county is capturing less than its fair share of retail sales. Notable areas of strength, we have a couple that include sales in the following retail categories: gasoline stations, museum, historical sites, similar institutions, and accommodation. But I really believe that as commissioners, you really need to take a good look at this report. It's, we're trying to work on economic development, but situations do make it very challenging for us to try to move economic development. And when we have sister counties that are imposing their will on San Juan County and what economic development happens or can happen in San Juan County really impacts us negatively. So I would ask that when our sister county, such as Grand County, is looking to limit or suggesting to limit our economic development in northern San Juan County, you really need to consider that. That impacts the rest of it impacts the residents, the 7,000 residents that was noted earlier that pay taxes. So I believe that we're free to make our own decisions here in San Juan County when it comes to looking at this report and noting that we have a lot of work to do in San Juan County. We have a tremendous amount of closed businesses in each of the communities that are draining us of the ability to provide revenue to San Juan County. So we really have a lot of work to do, and your decisions that come before you are critically important when it comes to helping keep You know, how much of that $94 million can we keep in San Juan County that will help us with our infrastructure, with everything that we have here? So I implore that we look at how we can help economic development in San Juan County by making the right decisions and not letting other sister counties or adjacent counties make decisions for us. Any questions?
Thank you.
Do we have any perfume outlets in the county?
No, but I have a long list of businesses that we need. A long list that we need to bring in here. I think this is very, very telling. I mean, it's when people go shopping, for instance, for groceries, they're going to drive to Walmart, and what are they going to do when they're in Cortez? They're going to fill up their car with gas. They're going to go to what others, have lunch over there. They're going to shop in other stores, and that puts us, at a really terrible position. So, and I'm going to be meeting with each of the cities to discuss this sales leakage report. We have so many closed businesses within Monticello, businesses that aren't operating, same thing in Blanding. And I really think that needs to be addressed. But we can't look past the opportunities we have available in northern San Juan County. I can't express to you how important it is to not listen to special interest groups when it comes to what is it going to do to help San Juan County move from the very bottom rungs of the 29 counties, move us up to the middle and help the residents of San Juan County. You really need to pay attention to that, and I implore that you do. Thank you.
Has this been shared with the planning and zoning?
I'm going to meet with the city's planning and zoning and the county's planning and zoning, along with the mayors of the cities, all the key decision makers within the communities to review this particular report, because it's really devastating. I did not think it was that high, and I was very shocked to see the loss of $94 million going out of San Juan County to other areas. So we have to find a way to fix that so that we can bring that revenue back into San Juan County. So, and I'll report back once I have my meetings with all of those principal groups.
Put a fence around with padlock.
These shop local, and that's why you get those shop local initiatives, how critical it is.
Exactly. And trying to find, businesses that will come in, but more importantly, the people that own these closed buildings, especially if you look down the street in Monticello, we've got closed businesses on our main street that could be viable businesses, contributing sales tax revenue, back into the community. I'm sure Monticello City, I don't know anything about their management of their finances, but I'm sure Monticello City could use the sales tax revenue. Why we would let closed businesses just continue to stay closed and not try to open them up for viable businesses to come in here to help our community, to help bring jobs, to help generate, revenue. So it's important, but I'll be meeting with all of the key principals in each community. So thank you.
Is there a problem or barriers, lack of infrastructure, or is that?
Well, lack of infrastructure, we don't have an airport, we don't have rail, we don't have a main highway. So those are key, the one major key factor, we don't have enough housing. We could bring jobs into the community, but if we have to bring 40, 100 jobs, where are people going to live? We don't have apartments, and I'm working on that. I created the San Juan County Housing Task Force Committee. I'm meeting with each group in each city and we're discussing what the housing needs are. But until we can fix our housing situation in every community, it's going to be very difficult to bring industry in here. We need to find Section 8 housing, just regular housing, affordable housing, and what housing do we need? So we're going to have those conversations. But housing's a big lack of housing is a really big factor for us.
As far as increasing housing, there's another element that plays in. Do we have enough water?
Well, I think we also, I'm going to tell you how I feel. I think we also, as a county, need to address conservation. I think we need to make sure that the community is focusing on water conservation and how do we stop watering lawns. I bought a house here in Monticello. I am not turning on a sprinkler to water grass and then to cut it. I refuse to do that. We've got to be smarter about the way we're using our water. And I think the county as a whole, along with each individual city, needs to, we need to look at how we can conserve water as we start to go forward. Because if we do, then I do believe that there will be enough water for housing. I'd rather have housing and people can turn on their spigots rather than watering my lawn. So I think something has to be brought to the forefront with water conservation and how we can do that. I do think we have enough water, but are we using it wisely?
Yeah.
Okay, good report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scary report.
Thank you for the scary report.
Yep.
Yep.
It is scary.
Thanks, Elaine. All right. Next, we're continuing on under business action items. We have the approval of the purchase of RD and V Carroll sculpture presented by Michaela. Michaela, I saw her online.
Okay.
Hey, Michaela.
Hi. Okay, so we had $5,000 that were donated by the T.R. Paul Family Foundation. The trustee, Theodore Paul, owns Flight Service, LLC, and they were the company that built the U.S. Forest Service building in Monticello last year. They had purchased property from R.D. Carroll and grew really close to the family over their time developing the building here. They made this donation wanting a sculpture of or some sort of thing as a in the memory of R.D. and V. Carroll. And so they helped me kind of pick out the kind of thing that they had in mind, and we found one. There's a whole bunch of different companies and stuff, but we kind of narrowed it down to the Bronze West young boy and girl. It'll have a plaque on it as well that talks about who donated it and that it's in memory of them. I feel pretty good about the Bronze West company as opposed to some of the others. They had a good rating with the Better Business Bureau and good long history. So does anybody have any questions? And of course, it's totally and completely covered by the donation that they made.
So I'm a little unclear. Who made the donation? Was it the Carrolls?
Well, no, actually it was the T.R. Paul Family Foundation.
Okay.
And that foundation, the trustee of that foundation owns and they built the U.S. Forest Service building. So it was donated by by his foundation, but they wanted it specifically in memory of RDMV Carroll. So they're being honored by it. But it was donated by this other foundation.
Do you remember how long V. Carroll was our librarian here in Monticello?
So it was before I was here, but people tell me stories about her all the time. And so I know she's an important part of the history here. So many people have come in and said, oh yeah, she was my first librarian that I ever knew. And I did get to meet her before she passed away. I asked her to come when I was just an assistant librarian. I asked her to come and teach a gardening class one spring, and it was fantastic. She had such a great knowledge of gardening, and it was fun to get to meet that legend before she passed on. So,
Yeah, I agree. She was really dedicated to our library system, and especially the library here in Monticello. Spent many, many years as the librarian here, and this is a great idea, in my opinion. So you're suggesting that we approve the number 1 Bronze West statue?
yes, I think that one's going to be the best still. And it is kind of what the foundation, the people involved in the donation, they kind of were leaning towards something like that. So,
Commissioner, I would make a motion to approve the request by Michaela Ramsey to purchase the Bronze West young boy and girl reading on a log bench statue. And you'll have a plaque on there to honor RD&V, right?
correct. We've already got the wording all figured out between the foundation people, kind of helped me figure out what they wanted on the wording. So, yes.
That's my motion.
Sounds good.
Motion made by Mr. Adams. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed,
Thank
nay?
you.
3 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carries. Number 12,
Okay, item number 12, we are consideration and approval of a letter of support for the Utah Food Bank efforts to establish a food pantry in Monument Valley.
Okay, during the legislative session, I got a call from Senator Don Ipson, and he informed me that he had been able to secure money through the legislature to have the food bank establish a warehouse in Blanding, a dispensary in Montezuma Creek, and one in Monument Valley. And they had let the bid to a local contractor here in San Juan County, and had not yet been able to secure property in Monument Valley, and they were working on that effort. And the director of the Utah Food Bank called me and asked me if we, as a county commission, would support the idea of a food bank pantry in Monument Valley. I said I'd present the letter to the commission. I think it's a good idea, personally, and would urge the commission to consider approval of the letter.
do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
So
We
moved.
approve. Yep.
There's two motion.
Okay.
I'll second. Yes,
Kenneth?
I think I beat him to the punch.
I'll take Kenneth's motion and
I'll
Bruce second. Any further question? I think Monterey Valley would, people of Monterey Valley would enjoy, appreciate
We can see
that
the
distribution center.
letter says the Utah Food Bank continually provides food assistance to people facing hunger on the Navajo Nation by providing monthly mobile food pantry services. And this would make a permanent facility at Montezuma Creek and hopefully Monument Valley.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carried, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 413, I guess.
Okay, consideration and approval of Lonesome Left Estate Subdivision Amendment number 5. Scott, our Director of Planning.
Mr. Barton?
All right, this is in a subdivision that you've approved previously already at your March 15th meeting. There was a minor change in the plat, so that the approved plat couldn't be recorded. So this is just a minor change in the width of the entrance into lot 10C1. So that's why it's back on your agenda today, is because the plat was changed. So
What's the change?
so it's a minor change to, it's the one that's shaded on in your packet, lot 10C1. The connection, the little flag portion that connects to the road was widened. That was in the plat that was approved before, that was narrower. So they've widened that out, I think, by about 10 feet. And there's a note on the plat that explains why, if anybody were searching in the future, why the Lonesome Left Estates Amendment number 5 was not was approved and then reapproved. There's a note that explains that.
This is in Spanish
It's
Valley.
in Spanish Valley, yes. Yep. Both lots, even with the extension of the widening out of that entrance, they're both still meet that lot 10C2 is 0.28 of an acre, so it's still big enough to meet the quarter acre requirement. So.
Is there a motion to approve with change?
Motion.
I will second the motion to approve the Lonesome Dove Left Estate Subdivision Amendment number 5 as presented.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Next, 14.
Number 14, consideration and approval of the updated library public services policy. This will be Nicole.
This is just a couple revisions made to an existing policy where it allows us, each branch, to take their new patrons that apply and are approved and designate them as a child patron for the duration of 2 months, for adults and 6 months for children under 18 with a 3-item limit checkout. Child patrons are not eligible to check out hotspots. If child patron has a good history of returning items after trial period, then they will be moved to active patron status and eligible to check out up to 23 items. This will help us to cut down on how many items that we are losing to new patrons that come. They check out a bunch of items, the 23 items that they used to could check out. and then never return again, and then we are out hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. And then a couple of other minor changes on page 2. Just moving some wording. All patrons with items overdue longer than 30 days may have items marked as lost, and those with unpaid fines. Instead of putting will, I've changed that to may have their library privileges suspended. And the reason I softened that wording is sometimes we have circumstances where a family has a special hardship, or there's been a flood, or something that's happened, and that the family has a good reason that they cannot, we're not able to return the items. A lot of different reasons why, and so I wanted to just soften that language just a little bit and give the director and the assistant director a little more leeway with that. A patron who keeps an item 3 months beyond its due date, 2 weeks for hotspots. Instead of will, I softened it again to may lose all library privileges and will receive a bill for the cost of lost items as well as hotspots. And then on the 3rd page, patrons may be placed, this is added, patrons may be placed on restricted status for abuse of library materials, facilities, or excessive fines. Patron may have privileges revoked or restored by director, assistant director, librarian, or other designated staff. That just gives us a clear direction for patrons to understand when they read the policies that, what could happen if they do abuse the materials. We don't especially collect fines, overdue fines, in most cases, and so this is a way that we can encourage patrons to maintain their good status by doing those things that will keep them from being moved to restricted. And then facility use, I just added a couple of sentences here. Room rental is available during normal library hours at Blanding and Monticello branches, and then highlighted when room is not being used for library activities, displays, or other library-related events. We've had a few conflicts with other groups who get upset because they want to circumvent what we have already planned for the library. So I just want to make that really clear with patrons who want to use the room that the library events do take precedence. And then clarifying that a deposit will be refunded if the room is left in the same or better condition it was found before setting up. And then just clarifying that what payments we accept, reservations are required, payment due in full before room can be used. Any exceptions must be approved by librarian of that branch. And then that was it for that one. No. Let's see. Was that it? Yep. Okay. I think that was it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just requesting that these are approved and we can put them on our website.
That was it.
Okay. I was wondering why I have 2 copies.
I think one's highlighted to show so you can get right to
the amended copies.
Yeah. Yep.
The other one is
Changes.
no change. What's the
I'll make a motion if you want.
Oh,
yes.
I
Bruce.
just realized I didn't tell you about the hotspot policy, which is another part that I've added because when this policy was created, I apologize. I haven't got this highlighted in yellow for some reason. When this policy was created, we didn't have hotspots at the time, and since then we received a grant to do the hotspots. So the policy just was added that patrons have to be adults, just what all the policies are there. The restrictions, how many times they can be renewed. The patrons have to sign an agreement saying they'll comply with all of these things and the fines and fees that are associated and how they must be returned. And then, sorry, that's a quick summary. I apologize. That's a big part of why we updated this policy.
Mr. Adam?
I make a motion to approve the updated library public service policy as presented by Nicole today.
Second.
Thank you. Any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. $15.
Thanks, Nicole. The item 15, consideration and approval of the University of Utah program of addiction research, clinical care, knowledge, and advocacy. That's the PARCA contract. Go ahead, Grant, Director of Public Health.
Greetings, commissioners, everyone. Good to be here with you. I'm really pleased for this opportunity, a batch of funding from, as it says, from the University of Utah to support this specific approach to improving screening for, as well as referral for opioid, methamphetamine, and other substance abuse, specifically among pregnant women and women of childbearing age in our area. This would be a short-term batch of funding, but would have some long-term benefits. The time frame for this would go through the end of September of this year. So for this batch of funding, and there's 2 parts to it. One is improving training for our WIC nurses and other staff. So that's women, infants, and children nurses. And so the intent there is to create an atmosphere in our WIC clinic, our public health services, where people who may have a form of addiction, as listed here, feel safe disclosing that and recognizing that we can help refer them to treatment that would really help them overcome that addiction and reestablish a healthy life for them and for their families. And so that's part that's really exciting that can really benefit us long term, where that training is in place. We have those skills, that approach, so that it really becomes part of our image as a public health department, that people can come to us and get help, and that also will be really informed in order to help prevent addiction in the first place too. And the second part is that screening part, where we'll be actively knowing how to appropriately, respectfully screen WIC clients and their family members for these forms of addiction, and then have those really build those relationships with treatment providers to refer effectively. So this will complement something that's not in here. This will complement some other funding we have around opioid treatment and prevention that's on a community level, and that's through our health promotion department led by Rebecca Benali. And so we have these layers of approaches to really help our community with this topic. So yeah, available for questions. A little bit unique here since it's from the University of Utah. Much of our funding is federal, coming from Centers for Disease Control. But like I said, this will complement and really help us integrate across our public health department.
Good program.
I think anytime we can get money from the University of Utah in San Juan County, we ought to try and get it as quick as possible.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the University of Utah Program of Addiction Research, Clinical Care, Knowledge, and Advocacy contract as presented by Grant.
Any second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also.
Great. Thanks so much.
Opposed, nay.
Good job, Grant.
Great. Look forward to other partnerships too that can benefit from this. So thanks, everyone.
Just keep bringing that money from the University of Utah down there.
We'll keep it flowing.
Where's BYU? They don't donate, do they? They don't.
There could be some opportunities. I graduated from USU, BYU, and U of U, so I'm open for any funding from all those
So
sources.
you all three.
Got it all covered.
Mac, BYU's money is clean.
All righty. Let's see.
Next, 16.
On item 16, which is consideration and approval of amendment number 1 to the interlocal government agreement between San Juan County and City of Monticello for law enforcement services.
All right, thanks, commissioners, for this time to present this for your consideration. So we started the contract with Monticello about 2 years ago. July of 2020, we started that law enforcement contract. And I think we've done a pretty good job. And a few months ago, Monticello City approached us about amending our contract and giving the deputies a little bit more money for the work in Monticello. That was to recognize and show their appreciation for the work that we've done, and then also to try to help keep some of the deputies that we've been losing. And so it's gone through, they came up with their proposal. It's gone through Monticello City Council and it's been approved. And so I'm presenting this to you guys for your possible approval. They have just approved to pay $2 more an hour to the deputies that work in Monticello. And the county would just have to track that. It's just for those that work the city shifts. And so the fiscal responsibility for the county we figured out is about $7,300, and that's just to help with the retirement URS system. We want this to help, go toward the retirement as well.
So let's see on here. So you have $7,300 per deputy coming from Monticello City. The county's obligation is to pay their retirement portion of it, and so it's kind of a hand-in-hand partnership where they're paying the hourly wage increase, and then we'll cover the URS retirement portion, which is the public safety retirement portion.
Mr. Adams?
What's that?
So do you have every deputy in the county wanting to work in Monticello now?
We might after this. We'll have to fairly, put it out. It's mainly been
How
the
do you
north.
decide who works in Monticello and who doesn't? Are they the same deputies all the time?
It's mainly been the north crew, which is Monticello North, but we've been so short that we've had even some in the south that stepped in to help work some of those, even myself and Chief Deputy Freestone. So, and we'll try to put it out, fairly to have everyone have a chance to do it. So it's not just, one deputy.
Citations will definitely go up.
Motion.
Mr. Barryboy, motion to approve the amendments or
What's the amendment?
amendment number 1 to IGA,
Yeah, Amendment A.
San Juan County and City of Monticello.
I'll second the approval of amendment number 1 to the intergovernmental agreement between the county and the City of Monticello for law enforcement services.
Any further question, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. There being none, motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on your agenda is consideration and approval of the 2023 Community Impact Fund list. This is a continuation of our discussion that we've had a couple months ago, where I approached you with possible projects that the county could add to the CIB list and our project list going forward. The all of the entities in San Juan County, including special service districts, cities, and towns, put forward their top priority projects, and then we ranked them accordingly. This is the results of the ranking, so we don't know what Monticello City ranked highest in this list, nor Blanding, or we kind of all get our own vote of what projects and priorities we have. Out of that, they Southeastern Utah, they kind of tally all of the votes and rankings, and then give us back the list of where everything came out. So on here, we do have the jail and court expansion, which is the top priority for the county and all of those entities that put forward the requests for projects. You see Blanding, Blanding City is number 2, and then Monticello is number 3. And it just kind of goes down, stair-stepping for that. And so in that discussion that I had with you, I mentioned that the jail and that remodel and renovation of that was our top priority, of which you agreed. We'd also discussed placing the Spanish Valley Emergency Center on there, as well as the Oljedo Road improvements there at Goldings. And so you can kind of see where those other projects of San Juan County a little bit lower on the ranking. Some of these that you may be newly seeing, obviously, those that are ranking in there, but more specific to San Juan County, you have the Monticello Hospital request for $30 million, as well as you have down on item number 13, the Blanding. This is coming out of the San Juan County Historic Commission, the Blanding Museum for $3,105,000. That's part of our Historic Commission that we fund every year. This is the list of the projects and kind of that ranking for your consideration and approval today. It's more just kind of a process and procedure moving forward. We will bring these projects back at a later date, and so it's important that the public know when we make an application for these projects, we do have to have an open public hearing for these projects that's advertised, and so that we can hear the voice of the public, making sure that as we do approach the CIB board, that these are publicly approved projects. And so you'll see these again here in the future as we make the applications. Last year, or here in 2022, commissioners, you had a public hearing already for the jail and court expansion. And so we've already done that this year. And so I don't think we'd have to do that unless CIB requires that we do it in 2023. I'm hoping that we can just validate the one that we did here in 2022 for that. So we'll be making an application for that here fairly quickly, where we've already had the public hearing and received support from the communities on there, as well as where it's ranked again for this next year's funding. Any questions? Again, you do have to be on this list as a prioritized project to make any application to the CIB. The higher the ranking, the better, obviously. But these are projects that we can begin to put forth on CIB requests. You see
So
also
the first section is the county.
County, cities, towns,
all the way
service
down
area.
to where it says
7
project total, county project total.
Correct.
That is the total of all this. Okay. Regional is separate.
Yeah, and that's the 7 County Infrastructure Coalition.
Right.
This is your projects that you have highlighted with the 7 County Infrastructure Coalition in your board meetings that you attend, separate from the county projects.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Community Impact Fund CIB list. And I will say that I have pretty good knowledge that It's more important to be on the list than it is to have a ranking.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Kenneth. Question. So you could be on the bottom list and still be considered.
If you're on the list, you will be heard if you turn in an application for your project.
All right. Good. Very well thought out. You don't have to be 1, 2, 3.
Nope.
Okay. Great to know. Any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed, nay? Motion carries 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next.
Okay, the next one is the discussion and direction regarding the County Board of County Commissioners and the county staff's legal representation for the 7th Judicial District Court Case number 2207-0004. This one's kind of been a moving target the last couple of days. We did receive Commissioner Gray as your memo to staff, which we included in the packet. At the time, we didn't have any other background information or information to add to the packet for this item of the agenda. Since that point in time, we have received a letter from the State of Utah Attorney General's office. I sent this out to you this morning. We got it late last night, so I apologize for not getting it into your packet sooner. I did provide you a printout on here, and we can kind of, I'll go through and just read it. It's a little bit lengthy. I apologize for if I'm slow at reading this document, but I think it's important that you kind of have that baseline information that and position from the Attorney General's office. The letter on here is regarding resolution regarding filling the vacancy of San Juan County Attorney in a county with fewer than 15 attorneys. Just directed to San Juan County Commission, Mr. Duncan and Mr. McDonald. The Utah Attorney General's office has received a number of complaints regarding the resolution regarding filling the vacancy of San Juan County Attorney in the county with fewer than 15 attorneys. Most recently, Acting County Attorney Alex Go contacted our office asking for opinions on A, the process of filling the vacancy left by Kendall Laws, and B, the process of hiring conflict counsel to represent the county in filling the vacancy, including parentheses, including the litigation that has been filed regarding these issues. We have received reviewed the audio recording of April 19th, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting, as well as the materials provided in the agenda packet for agenda item 8. In particular, we are familiar with the resolution that was passed by the commissioners determining that the 4 interested individuals were not applicants, and Kane County's Robert Van Dyke's written opinion that they were applicants. Additionally, we have independently reviewed the applicable election code provisions. Having considered those materials, the Office of the Utah Attorney General concurs with the thorough and well-reasoned opinion provided at San Juan County's request by the King County Attorney. Specifically, Utah Code 20A-1-509.2 provides the process for filling the vacancy left by the resignation of Kendall Laws on March 28, 2022. We agree with Mr. Van Dyke's determination that there are 4 applicants for the position of the county attorney. 4 individuals responded to the letter sent by the county clerk in the manner directed by the county clerk. Pursuant to Section 20A-1-509.2, Section 2, the county clerk informs potential applicants how to respond, and therefore makes the determination of what will be considered an application. The county clerk properly exercised his discretion in identifying how a qualified individual could apply, and then designated the 4 interested individuals as applicants. The Utah Attorney General's Office urges San Juan County Commission to follow Section 20A-1-509.2 as clarified by Mr. Van Dyke's written opinion and appoint one of the 4 applicants to the position of San Juan County Attorney. The Office of the Utah Attorney General further urges the county clerk and county administrator to comply with the law and take no further action to solicit applicants from outside of the San Juan County. Finally, the Attorney General's Office asks that the San Juan County Commission cease all effort to direct the county clerk or county administrator to act in contravention of Section 20A-1-509.2. The County Commission should also note that if it does not discharge its duties in accordance with Section 20A-1-509.2 within 120 days, the responsibility will fall to the governor to appoint one of the applicants as the San Juan County Attorney. See Utah Code 20A-1-509.2, Section E and F. The second question posed to our office regarding the process for hiring conflict counsel. It appears that Mr. Goebel has already undertook that process when he sought counsel from the King County Attorney. The Office of the Utah Attorney General urges the county to again contact USIP and determine the procedure for hiring counsel, including a determination of who will bear the expense of that counsel and whether the interests of the named defendants diverge significantly to require different representation. As a final matter, our office has received a number of complaints about the County Commission's adherence to the Open and Public Meetings Act and other potential violations of law. Those matters will be investigated and considered separately from the question of filling the county attorney vacancy. The Attorney General's Office would be happy to discuss these matters with San Juan County Commission to try to resolve your concerns. Sincerely, Brian L. Tarbett, Chief Civil Deputy, Utah Attorney General's Office. So we did receive this letter. You have heard its contents on there. Also, during this commission meeting today, we have also received notice from the courts. Let me try to, I don't know if Lyman, if you were able to pull that up in your email. Did you just run upstairs, Megan? You old runner.
We have an elevator.
Okay, let's see here. Let me stop share this and I will share this other window. Okay. So in commission meeting earlier, today I think it's during the public comments, we did receive this order granting temporary restraining order regarding the case that has been filed against the county. And this is a I believe it was a motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction under Rule 65A. Kind of skip to the end here of this document in the order from the judge. In here it states the defendants are restrained from advertising, soliciting, accepting applications, considering applications, or appointing any person for the position of San Juan County Attorney except one of these four individuals who were original applicants for the position: Craig C. Halls, Brittany Ivins, Alex Goebel, or Daniel Anderson. Number 2 of that order, a hearing on the application for preliminary injunction will be conducted on May 16th, 2022 at 10 a.m. The hearing will be held remotely via WebEx. The parties must review the court's standing order, remote hearing requirements, and best practices for instructions and requirements to submit exhibits that might be used at the hearing. Because no apparent, this is item number 3, because no apparent damages would occur to the county because of the restraining order, no bond is required. Item number 14 is this order will expire 14 days after issuance unless extended for good cause or by stipulation of the parties. So I wanted to bring that up so you're aware that it has hit the judge's desk. He has quickly reviewed this and ordered that temporary restraining on order. I know, Commissioner Graz, that you had already gone ahead and solicited attorneys throughout the state of Utah to submit applications for the vacancy of that, and so that restraining order would kind of halt that entire process. Obviously, where they've already been given emails, there's nothing that we can do on that side of it when the emails come in, but further proceeding in that direction is kind of halted. In the AG's letter to you, they had recommended that we reach out to USIP and file a claim, but also seek representation, and that's kind of what the discussion is today. And we'll bring Alex in as well to part of that discussion. Where you had passed the resolution appointing Alex as an interim county attorney, it is known that Alex still does represent the county in its entirety. So he is still the county's attorney in this process. Whether there's a conflict in his personal life doesn't negate the fact that by resolution, he is the county attorney acting on that behalf. And that was important in the discussion with USIP. USIP does have a list of attorneys that we can turn to, and they've provided me that list of conflicting counsel that we can go to help us through this process. One of the things, and this is kind of how it will play out depending on how Alex wants to work this, but we do have on the list of different defendants, you as a county commission board, you as county commissioners individually, and then you have Lyman Duncan, our clerk auditor, and then myself as the county administrator, each named kind of separately other than the naming of the San Juan County Commission in its entirety. One of the things we're hoping, and when you look at matters like this, it would be nice to get it all combined into one, to where this lawsuit is for San Juan County and not necessarily individuals. And the reason for that is the hiring of attorneys and seeking that outside representation that has to go through and be approved by Alex, where he represents the county. They have to be deputized by him in that capacity as well. And so that's important to note, but there will be costs that are associated to attorneys. When you look through the process, trying to be Switzerland in the middle, of all of this. And we had advised you of the laws. We sought outside counsel to advise you of the law. And you chose the direction that you did. And so it's kind of created where, the clerk auditor, he has done a process and followed the law. And so by rights, he is entitled to having representation for him and his interest in that official capacity. You as commissioners, as a San Juan County Commission, are also entitled to counsel on behalf of the county commission. Your memo on here, and I've read it, where there's an effort to seek private counsel. That one's a little concerning to me, where the county doesn't have a contract with these individuals, and I think it's important that, especially with these type of cases, these type of matters where you're named in behalf of the county commission as well as county commissioners, that we stick with the rules that we have to play in, and that county oversight that is afforded through entities such as USIP, our insurance provider. Going outside of that and hiring private individual attorneys, it's important to note that going down that road and going down that route does waive your governmental immunity, because you're doing that in your individual capacity and not under the umbrella as county commissioners or the county on its behalf. Typically with the county, and following the process that has been followed for years throughout the state of Utah in county attorneys, the county attorney is the one that seeks additional attorneys, additional help, and deputizes those attorneys to act on behalf of San Juan County. And so I'm hoping that we can get you to continue to follow that road. And if we seek additional attorneys, then it's done through the proper means and process that is laid out in state code, as well as that is the responsibility of the county attorney's office. I could kind of go on. I think that's for me, Alex. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to state on that. I know Alex has mentioned and reserved 3-hour block for for this meeting.
So I'm not going to talk about anything to do with the merits of the case, because that has to do with where the conflict exists, but I can talk to you about the proper procedure for the county. Speaking on behalf of the county, the important thing to note is San Juan County is not a named party in this lawsuit. The clerk is named, the Board of County Commissioners are named, the commissioners are named, and the county administrator is named. Based on the receipt of the letter from the Attorney General's office, the county should not get involved in this, and I'll make whatever efforts I need to keep San Juan County out of it. The Board of County Commissioners and the county clerk, as well as the county administrator, all need to make decisions in their official capacities. And as Mac outlined, there's some very important considerations for you to look at, because when you are sued in your official capacity, you have to be careful that you act in that capacity. And if there's anything that makes it look like you're acting in a personal nature, that does put at risk your governmental immunity. And you do not want to do that. So I would advise you to steer clear of anything that puts your governmental immunity at risk. And so the county should not be brought into this lawsuit as its own individual party. Right now, we should do what we can, and that's based entirely off of the recommendation from the Attorney General's office about the county's role in this process. Obviously, because you are all sued in your official capacities, the county will be paying the bill, because you're not sued as individuals, you're sued in your official capacity, so it's your office that has been sued. If you need to discuss with me anything that does not touch on the merits of the case, because I cannot discuss the merits of the case with you, I am happy to do that. I'm happy to do that with you individually. If you would like to speak to me as a group or as a board, I'm happy to ask for a meeting to go into closed, but in order to not prejudice any of your positions in the lawsuit, I'd rather not discuss those in an open and public meeting. Yes.
I want to clarify the USIP position.
Mm-hmm.
I have inside knowledge that if the county or if somebody is sued within the county and only attorney's fees are requested by the people suing the county, that USIP cannot defend them.
So that is correct. USIP will not pay that bill. That
Right.
bill will be paid from the county general fund. So
Okay.
what you can go to USIP for is their list of attorneys who they've passed conflicts. So anybody who you hire isn't going to have a conflict with any of the parties involved. And so USIP does provide a list of pre-vetted conflict-free attorneys.
With the process, I did file the lawsuit as a claim on behalf of the county. That claim was denied by USIP. Where this case is not seeking any damages, there's no reason that they would cover the county on here. Like Alex had mentioned, it's strictly county attorney.
And that's clearly part of the coverage document before we ever ask USIP to be our liability insurer. So USIP doesn't cover any county where no damages are sought.
Correct. Okay, so as I said, if anybody wants to meet with me individually, or if you want to close the meeting, I'm happy to discuss it. I cannot discuss the merits of the case, though.
Now the restraining order is here. We cannot think about it, dream about it.
I can at least address the restraining order because the court did address that to the county as a whole, because obviously as the county commissioners, as the county clerk, as the county administrator, your actions are carried out by the county. You are to take no action. And as a matter of fact, my recommendation would be to contact the bar through whom the email went out and tell them that the position has been that due to the court order, you can just send them a copy of the order so that they will know to tell people to stop emailing you so that nobody can ever claim that you continued to accept, receive, or consider any of those that might be coming in.
Does that mean we could not take a corrective action and appoint one of the four today and end all of this?
So if you go to the order, I think it speaks for itself right there. And because this gets close to the merits of the case, I'll just have Mac talk to you about that.
So we certainly could change course, appoint somebody to today, and then at that point in time, you would be working with the court to drop the case in its entirety. Because you met the law, you met the statute. This is, a case that is pretty much because of the actions that were taken last commission meeting where you chose not to select one of the four and solicit outside. We took the wrong turn in the law, and, the case was filed to get us back on a corrective track according to that state code. So if you were to select one of the four today, then all of that would go away. Correct. It is not on the agenda. Yeah.
Well, we just forgot to put it on there.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's something, as far as direction, there's two avenues that I see is, I can continue to work with Alex and USIP on the selection of representation. Now, what I would need from that is direction from the commission is how many, as well as from our clerk auditors. Well, how many do we need? The other option is we hold off and, you have May 16th. I think our next commission meeting is the 17th. So the day after that we meet with the judge on this case, we could put it on the agenda, and it's an item on the agenda to select one of the four, and we can speak to that with the judge. No decision would be made, and so, but it would still be posted on the agenda as a potential action item.
I better stay here at the podium. You have a hearing on May 16th. So if you are going to hire an attorney, you need to give that attorney time to be able to adequately represent you.
Or we could have a special commission meeting and go about that before the 16th so that it is a moot point when we face the judge. There's that option. So 3. But I think you're seeing over and over the same thing. Is we did have 4 applicants that were viable applicants, and we need to select one of the 4 or it goes to the governor. But in order to get it, I mean, if we choose to wait the full 120 days, this court case will continue to reign on through that time period.
Well, my question still stands. Yes, there were 4 applicants. One of them filed for a position in another county. So that leaves 3 for this county to consider. Why is that? Nobody is
So that
discussing that.
So you can't talk to the merits
so
of it.
I can't talk to the merits of the case. All I can tell you is that the legal opinions you have received addressed that question.
They continue to state that you have received, according to Lyman Duncan's application.
All I read is there were 4 applicants.
There were 4. Yep.
They don't say one of the 4 applicants apply for a different position out of the county.
Yeah.
So that leaves 3. That's my argument.
Would you be willing to consider one of those 3 at a special commission
There's
meeting?
another section in the law where only 3 or less than the bar could be contacted.
Or in that same section, it also states that if you only receive 3, that gives you 2 options. You can select from the 3 that you've received or solicit for additional attorneys. However, the application that you're worried about is that was provided by Craig specifically in response to what the Democrat Party had asked for. They asked for additional details. Lyman Duncan, when he asked, the clerk auditor, when he asked for applicants from the 5 individuals, he received 4 applications in the order, like it's stated by the Attorney General's office, in the order that he asked for in response to his request. Those 4 individuals applied. So it's not up to the Democratic Party to say, well, we only received 3 in response to us. Like I'd mentioned last time, is these attorneys don't have to respond to additional information that the Democratic Party asked for. They had already been approved and vetted and acknowledged as being 4 applicants that the clerk auditor had. So this extra application that Craig, and I think he was super responsive to what the Democratic Party asked for. He was willing to go that dance with them and provided this other application. They asked for an application, he provided one. They didn't mail an application to any of the applicants, had them fill this out. They just sent an application. Okay, here you go. And he was responsive to the Democratic Party's request. However, in the law, all the Democratic Party can do, and it's a shall, like I mentioned last time, it's a shall nominate 3 from the list of candidates that Lyman Duncan provided. If they can't do that, then you as commissioners have to reconsider all of those applicants, which in this case is 4 applicants. So no matter what, whether it was a Grand County application or an application for Blue Mountain Meats, it wouldn't matter. Lyman Duncan considered those 4 responses as valid applicants and pushed those to the Democratic Party to narrow down to 3.
But the position is for county attorney within San Juan County.
Correct. And they asked for an application. They didn't say it had to be a San Juan County application. We don't have a San Juan County application. So he just submitted an application. They asked for an application. I'm going to be responsive to what they're requesting and submit an application. And the interesting thing to note in the request for additional applicants, it's the same language where it is requesting an application from interested candidates. Again, no application provided, no application, no direction which application to fill out. Kind of the same, similar language.
Did I understand that we are the lawsuit is naming us collectively or as an individual?
So in the plaintiffs or in the defendants list, it's the Board of County Commissioners and then each commissioner named as a commissioner. So not in your individual capacity, but as a commissioner.
Right.
Then Mac McDonald is the county administrator and Lyman Duncan is the county clerk. San Juan County is not a named party. So the board is a collective.
I'm waiting to be served.
When the clerk gets served, everybody in their official capacity at the county gets served. It's the same in any lawsuit, in any other lawsuit. Sometimes they even deliver it to my office, and I say you have to serve the clerk to serve anybody in the county. So the clerk was served on April 27th.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Maryboy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would suggest that we consider the order and McDonald's position, and that the commission should schedule an emergency meeting before the deadline. And that, to me, that would be a smart thing to do at this point in time.
April 27th.
April 27th.
So in that case, you can't talk about it. It's already filed.
Yes.
Attorney General's letter is dated May 2nd.
Correct.
So there's a question. Why is he allowed to do this. I think my position is that we follow the law with the understanding of what I said and agree with the Central Committee.
And so that is, I believe that's what Commissioner Maryboy is motioning, that he wants to have a meeting on so that you can discuss that.
Yes.
Okay.
Point of clarification.
Go ahead.
If we have the meeting prior to the 16th and don't resolve the issue, then individually, do we, Mac, Lyman, the commissioners, all need to have attorneys to represent them for the 16th meeting? So we have to end up hiring 5 attorneys. You're my attorney. I'm not hiring any attorney.
So I
You're the
can't-
county attorney for the
I
commission.
my conflict.
I'm refusing to hire it.
My conflict. Won't let me.
No way.
The answer is that is possible if you all as named parties of that lawsuit cannot agree with each other on a position. It is very possible that yes, you will be hiring different attorneys.
So we better have a meeting fairly soon so that if we can't resolve this thing, then we have time to go out and find attorneys.
And my understanding is Mac has already secured at least a partial list, and so hopefully by that meeting he'll have a full list for you.
So you're refusing to be my attorney.
I can't. It's not that I'm refusing, it's that I can't.
Only if it's made to where this all becomes the county. But
And
like,
just to
see
make it
happening.
abundantly clear, because my duty is to the county as a whole and the county is not named, I will fight to keep the county out of this lawsuit.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it should remain the parties who are currently named.
Okay. You're mean.
How long does it take to get an agenda out?
You have to have 24 hours for the sunset law.
So I think we ought to have an emergency meeting in 24 hours.
So we could do that on, so today's Tuesday, we could do that on Thursday. Cinco de Mayo. Hey, yeah, it's Mexican food. Commissioner, we could do Thursday at
But
10 a.m.
Thursday, May 10th work?
Thursday, May 5th will work. And then if we have to continue, then we can hold another meeting on Thursday, May 12th. So if you can't, let's see, to get it on Thursday at 10, 24 hours, yeah, we're fine. So I can do Thursday the 5th at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., cancel some appointments. How do you look on that date for your guys' schedule?
I'm just farming.
You're farming?
I'm available.
How about you, Commissioner Graz? You good?
What day?
On the 5th
All right.
of May?
Thursday.
Day after tomorrow. Day after tomorrow.
Correct. Commissioner Maryboy?
I was suggesting the 10th. Is that pretty full?
Yeah, there you go.
Take a vacation.
No, I need somebody to drive tractor.
All right.
Commissioner Maryboy, I'm sorry I missed that
Listen.
comment.
That yours.
Go ahead, Commissioner Maryboy. We missed that comment.
I was recommending May 10th, Thursday. I mean Tuesday.
That, yeah, to me, I worry about the timing. So if we can't come to a resolution and select attorneys and head towards that direction on May 5th, we will need that next week to set up another emergency commission meeting to figure out what you want to do for attorneys.
Well, I was just thinking the tent because Goebel was recusing himself, and that leaves you to be looking for other attorneys. And will that give you enough time to come up with some names and numbers?
Yes, I already have the list from USIP. And so I could present those that following week if that's the direction that you guys choose to go. Are you available on the 5th?
Well, I'm trying to think. I do have two schedules right on that day, but if I have to, I guess I'll make it to the 5th then.
Okay. We do have the two commissioners here had mentioned.
Is this serving?
Yes, that's being served on the
You've been
commission
served.
chair.
Thank you.
Does that include me?
Well, it's all of the, there's a hearing date on the 16th, and I just want you to know that so that if you have to schedule
We
for
know
that
that.
as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
So we do have two commissioners that are available on that date. Lyman, are you good for the 5th?
I am.
Okay.
You need a
Okay.
motion to have a special meeting on the 5th.
Yes.
Can make a motion that we instruct the administrator to advertise for a special commission meeting on May the 5th at 5 o'clock in the morning. No,
Good
not
time.
5 o'clock. What time do you want to meet? What time you be here? 9?
Not 4:45.
How about 9?
9 would be
Yes.
good.
Okay.
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 All right. Anything else?
Only if the chair needs me for anything else. Do you anything
Huh?
else? Only if the chair doesn't need me for anything else. If not, I'll go back to my chair.
No, I don't.
Did you second, Kenneth?
Yeah.
There's a motion made by Mr. Adams to schedule a special meeting of the
At 9 o'clock in
Board
the
of
morning.
Commission, second by Kenneth Maryboy. Any question? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also.
Okay.
It's 9 o'clock. May. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
good idea. Motion
Second.
to adjourn by Mr. Adams.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. The ayes have it. We are stand adjourned.
Be back
Thank
on
you.
Thursday.
Be back on Thursday. Your seats will be warm.
No win? Thursday.
I know, huh? I have a hard time. I can't. Yeah. I don't think Commissioner Gray. Good to see you.